Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Ways and Means. Committee Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson. Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblywoman Brown May. Assemblywoman Dickman. Assemblywoman Gorlow. Assemblyman Hafen. Assemblywoman Howdigee. Assemblywoman Kasama. Assemblyman Miller. Assemblyman O'Neill. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Yeager. And Chair Monroe Moreno.
And I am here. Just a few housekeeping items. Remember, if you have any electronic devices, please turn them off or mute them. Members will be utilizing their laptops as we go through the meeting to look at documents and exhibits. So please don't think that they're concentration on a computer means that they're not being attentive, they're being very attentive. We have a lot of things on our calendar and we added even some more, so we're going to be taking things out of order today. Members, last night we got a briefing over 3 budget bills. We are going to go ahead and start with those 3 this morning, and then we will proceed with our agenda. And again, we will not be taking the agenda in order. We're at that time of the legislative session that things are kind of in flux. If we do not finish with our agenda, we will recess and come back later in the day at the call of the chair. So with that, we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 520. Assembly Bill 520 makes various changes regarding the state financial administration and makes appropriations for the support of the civil government of the state.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. John Cusero, LCB Fiscal for the record. I will not be running through every single section of the bill. Happy to answer any questions you like, but as a general overview, the Appropriation Act introduced as a BDR last afternoon, AB 520, also known as the 2023 General Appropriations Act, implements budget decisions made by the money committees for state general fund and highway funded budgets, as well as back language to implement money committee decisions related to appropriated funding. Total general fund appropriations in fiscal year 24 include $3.454 billion. Fiscal year 25 includes $3.588 billion. Total highway fund appropriations in fiscal year 24 is $167.5 million, and in fiscal year 25 is $168.6 million. Additionally, fiscal staff notes general fund appropriations in the back language of the Act total $14.9 million in fiscal year 23, $13.5 million in fiscal year 24, and $6.9 million contingent upon the outcome of related legislation. Madam Chair, happy to address any questions or concerns from the committee.
Thank you so much. Members, we had a very long and detailed review of this bill last night. We went through it section by section. Does anyone have any questions? I'm hoping you took the documents you received last night, the BDRs, and reviewed them at your leisure in those like 2.5 hours you had before you took a 1.5 hour nap last night. So any questions for staff? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
We have to do.
Oh, I am so sorry. I'm really ready to move on. No? Okay. So thank you so much for the presentations. No questions. We will go to support. If there's anyone here that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 520, I invite you to the table. We do have some people joining us in Las Vegas this morning. If you're here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 520, I invite you to the table there. And if you would like to call in with your support, our number for the day is 888-475-4499, and our ID is 850-187-99264, and then please press pound. See no one here in Carson City that would like to provide testimony and support, and no one at the table in Las Vegas. We will go to our phone lines. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 520?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 520, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much, and we will go to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 520? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 520? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone on our phone lines as of yet this morning?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 520, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move into the neutral position. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral in Assembly Bill 520? Seeing none, not seeing anyone come to the table in Las Vegas, and knowing that we do not have anyone on our phone lines as of yet, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 520.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As members of the committee may know, under Assembly Standing Rule number 59, subsection 4, we typically have a 24-hour waiting period between the time we hear a bill and we take final action. That rule can be waived by approval of the Speaker. Given where we are in session, I am waiving Assembly Standing Rule number 59-4 for any bills that we hear today in the Ways and Means Committee so that they'll be ready for action to send to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with that, I'll accept a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 520.
Madam Chair, so moved.
I have a motion from Assemblywoman Bacchus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. There are many sections of the bill that I do support and agree with, but also the time is very short from last night to review this in detail, so unfortunately I have to be a no on these. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other discussion? Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm going to echo my colleagues' comments, and hopefully by the time we get to the floor, I'll be able to be a yes. Thank you.
Thank you both for your comments, but I'll remember on this committee, this is the time that we have the budget bills. They come generally the very last week of session. We're actually a little bit earlier than we have in previous sessions. And this body gets those bills, and it's our duties to make sure we burn the midnight oil to read through them, knowing that within 24 to 48 hours, we're going to vote on them. So with that, is there any other discussion? Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. And I fully understand, having been here for several sessions, what you're saying about the speed and the need. However, my fellow Republicans here on Ways and Means have a meeting this afternoon with the Budget Office to discuss, just to ensure that we feel that everything is sustainable and will be in there. So that's really the reason why I think we're looking at it for a no right now instead of the confusion of agreeing and then having to rescind later. If you would just understand that this evening may be a totally different story, and I hope it will be. I appreciate that. But I ask for your understanding in that regards for the four of us, please.
Any other discussion? With that, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And if you're in opposition, please raise your hand. We have Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman Hafen, Assemblywoman Kasama, and Assemblyman O'Neill. The motion passes. And with that, we will move on to Assembly Bill 521. Assembly Bill 521 authorizes and provides funding for certain projects of capital improvement. Good morning. And members, I'll remind you again, we did go through this bill section by section after a legislative process of many hearings that led us to this piece. So go ahead, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Julie Waller with the Fiscal Analysis Division. To my right, Nicolette Johnston is joining me at the table. And we're here to present Assembly Bill 521, which authorizes and provides funding for certain projects of capital improvement. This bill authorizes $1.189 billion for the executive branch projects, as well as $214.2 million for capital improvement projects for the legislative branch. As you can see at the left corner of this bill requires a 2/3 majority vote for the Section 19, which authorizes the continuation of the 17-cent property tax. Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have regarding this bill.
Thank you so much. Members, do you have any questions for the presenters? Seeing none, thank you so much. Then we'll move to testimony in support. If there's anyone here that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 521, I invite you to the table here or the table in Las Vegas. Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone who's joining us by the phone line yet?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 521, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to opposition. If there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 521, I invite you to step up to the table. Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 521? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone on the phone lines that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 521?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 521, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to the position of neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the position of neutral on Assembly Bill 521? Seeing none, moving to Las Vegas. Not seeing anyone move to the table, we'll go to our phone lines. BPS, is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition of or in neutral of Assembly Bill 521?
If you would like to testify neutral to Assembly Bill 521, please press star 9 or raise your hand to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 521, and we will open the work session for Assembly Bill 521, and I will accept a motion to do pass.
Madam Chair, I hope you don't mind, but I want to make a comment before I move to do pass on AB 521. Last night I was appreciative of fiscal staff going through in detail of this bill and sitting on the subcommittee that heard a lot of these CIP projects. I really appreciate all those involved, including Director Robb and also Public Works setting forth each of these projects. I feel like we had multiple hearings on each of these and the amounts and the good work in looking out for our state in minimizing state dollars that are going to get us a lot of buildings and maintenance and other looking forward to the future of projects. And so with that, Chair, I would move to do pass Assembly Bill 521.
Thank you. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Backus, a second from Assemblyman Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you so much. Again, there are certain areas of the bill that agree with and not, but Section 31 I find to be extremely concerning, where we're actually going to transfer title of this area that the Legislative Council Bureau sits on. It's going to be transferred in title to the Legislative Council Bureau. And to my understanding, we don't have the Capitol owned by the executive branch. We don't have the Attorney General's offices owned by the Attorney General's branch, nor the Supreme Court owned by the Judicial branch. So I think that this is a far overreach of transferring title to one branch, which I have not seen or I'm aware of, and therefore I will have to be a no.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing no other discussion, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, raise your hands. We have Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman Hafen, Assemblywoman Kasama, and Assemblyman O'Neill. The motion does carry. Thank you. And I will take the floor statement on both 520 and 521. Thank you, member. Moving on, we'll open the hearing on Assembly Bill 522, which revises provisions relating to the compensation of state employees.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, J. Marie Mangoba from the Fiscal Analysis Division, and with me to my right is James Malone. We also have our other team members in our team, Daniel Miller, Yuri Ikovlev, and Nancy Morris. And we're here to answer any questions you may have regarding Assembly Bill 522, or commonly known as the Pay Bill. Just a brief overview, AB 522 establishes the maximum allowed salaries for certain state employees, makes appropriations from the state general fund and the state highway fund for increases in salaries and the payment of retention incentives, or commonly known as bonuses, for certain employees, and establishes a plan for continuity of service or longevity for state employees, and revises provisions related to the designation of the legislative fiscal officer and eliminates certain salary limitations. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good morning, and thank you so much. Member, once again, we have a bill in front of us that we went through section by section, and everything within this bill and the two previous bills are items that were brought before the subcommittees, the full committees, to actually put this bill together. So, I thank you so much for the presentation, and we will move to support of, if members don't have any questions. Not seeing any, we'll move to support for Assembly Bill 522. If there's anyone here in Carson City that'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 522, I invite you to the table. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the rest of the committee. My name is Dan Gordon. I am the president of the Nevada Police Union. We represent the Nevada State Police, which includes Highway Patrol, Probation and Parole Officers, Capitol Police, the Investigation Division, Fire Marshal, State Fire Marshal, Office of Professional Responsibility, the Game Wardens of NDOW, University Police, which includes UNR and UNLV, State Park Rangers, and the Department of Agriculture. We are in full support of this bill. This is just one of the important pieces that needs to pass in order to maintain and rebuild public safety. As you all know, that the government's first responsibility is to keep the citizens and the visitors to the state of Nevada safe. And we are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 522? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 522? I invite you to the table. Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 522?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 522, please press star 9 now or raise your hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 522? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 522? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 522?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 522, please press star 9 now or raise your hand in the Zoom client to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 522. And we will open the work session on Assembly Bill 522. And with that, I'll accept a motion to do pass.
Madam Chair, I'm excited that to move to do pass Assembly Bill 522 in hopes that we're able to fill vacancies and maintain state employees, and just appreciative to you and this committee's hard work to make this possible.
I am going to excitedly second that.
Thank you so much. I have a motion from Assemblywoman Bacchus, a second from Assemblywoman Hadigi. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. You know, it's what I had said earlier. We have a meeting. We're asking for some time to digest this afternoon. As I said, we may be different. And I truly understand we need to take care of our state employees, having been one myself at one time, particularly in law enforcement. And I just want to feel comfortable that we're not doing anything. And I ask that so the sustainability is there for this, because I'd hate to see what we have done in the past here in the legislature, where we give something to the state employees and then a year or two later have to remove that from them or have cuts. So for right now, I'll be a no, and we'll move to it after the meeting here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the moment. I do have concerns over the sustainability of this. I would wish we could give our state employees everything, but you know, there are limits, and for now, I just have to be a no. Thank you.
Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I also have concerns about the sustainability of our state if we do not invest in our state employees. We have, across so many departments, reached vacancy levels that are that have us on the brink of disaster. The workload that our state employees are facing is tremendous, and they are dramatically, as we have seen, including in some of the analysis of how we've been able to keep up their compensation over time. We're not even keeping up with the cost of living. We are not keeping up remotely with the private sector. We're not keeping up with local governments, and as a result, we have a workload and a lack of respect for the work that our state employees that are doing that is putting us on the brink of being unable to provide services, critical services to the people of the state. I had the pleasure of serving as the Assembly Chair of the Subcommittee on Public Safety, Natural Resources, and Transportation, and I wish that we could do more. I think this is a very measured approach to try and address critical issues that we have in filling our public safety positions in particular, but we've also heard about issues in places like the Department of Transportation and others. And again, not everybody is getting the bump that I think they truly deserve, but we are making a substantial step forward in helping to recover some of the losses that our state employees have seen due to recessions, but also recovering some of the losses that we've seen in our state workforce so that we can deliver the services that the people of our state need. So I will be voting in support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblywoman Hadigi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think for two economic downturns, we've seen our state carried on the backs of state employees. They've been the ones who were forced to take benefit cuts, compensation cuts, furloughs, and salary cuts over two economic downturns. And this is the least we can do to make them whole and show them that we do appreciate them. There should be pride when working for the state, and I think this is helping establish that. Like my colleague said, we've had state agencies time and time again before us, and not just during the legislative session, because these pre-budget hearings that started before the legislative session are all the information that's being covered in these three bills. So this isn't new information before us. These are conversations that have been happening for 4 months since before the session started. And so I am happy to support this bill and to provide the compensation that I think our state employees deserve. And like my colleague said, I don't think this goes far enough. I think this is just doing enough to bring back to the cuts that they had to endure over the last 2 economic downturns. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When I think about my time in the legislature since being elected in 27, there's been one common thread of a theme that's gone through all the sessions, and that's been exactly what folks have mentioned. We don't pay our state employees enough. We're not competitive. We have a hard time recruiting. We have a hard time retaining. Some of us lived through the special session where we had to come in and slash even more. So just want to say that I am proud of this piece of legislation we're voting on today, and this is the embodiment of all the work that this committee has done throughout the last several months. There's nothing new or surprising in here. These are budget decisions that we made along the way, and the basis of this bill was the governor's recommended budget, which we have fulfilled, and we've gone above and beyond in certain circumstances because we as a legislature didn't feel like we were doing enough to be competitive. I'll just remember during the interim, we had a lot of discussions in the interim finance committee with state agencies about vacancies and about what it would take to fill those vacancies and to keep employees. And it was said over and over and over, we must be more competitive in the compensation structure. And I guess I'll say I'm disappointed to hear that some of my colleagues on this committee who sat on those committees in the interim and expressed that they were willing to work on this issue and understood the importance of compensating our state employees are now going to be a no out of committee on this bill with some sort of explanation that more time is needed. We worked on this for over 105 days. There's nothing surprising in here. We heard a presentation last night. I understand there's a meeting today and maybe some questions would be answered, but I would sure hope that as a sign of unity and as a sign of respect for our state employees, that when this bill comes to a vote on the assembly floor, there's not a single no. This is the least we can do, given the crisis that we're facing. And so I am enthusiastically in support of this bill and certainly hope that any of my colleagues who aren't will see the light in the next couple of days and we'll be able to get this over to the governor unanimously. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please raise your hands. I have Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman Hafen, Assemblywoman Kasama, and Assemblyman O'Neill. The motion does carry. And again, I will assign that floor statement to myself. And before our fiscal staff leaves the room, I want to tell you all thank you. As the chair of this committee, I ask you to come in before session to do a training with every member of the Ways and Means and the Senate Finance Committee. It was something we've never done before. But I wanted the members on this committee not to come in blind the way that I did when I was assigned. You spent an entire day working through the process of how the fiscal committee works so that everyone was on the same page, and it was not training for Democrats, it wasn't training for Republicans, because I believe that once you're elected, you're just here to serve, and you put your party politics aside. Thank you for doing that. And then thank you for the 2 weeks before the session even started to go through policy presentations from every department, division within the state, that we would know what we would be facing coming in. And then there has been, as I said at the start of this, countless hours. You guys get here at 5 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes you don't leave until 2 in the morning. You do our subcommittee meetings, you do our budget briefings, and you do these hearings. There is nothing that is in these bills that we are passing today as a fiscal committee that did not come across the desk of the members. If the members did not read those bills and the budget closings, shame on them, because that is our job. But I just wanted to tell you thank you, and that I truly, truly appreciate all the work that you have put in for the last 100+ days to get us to where we are today. And I do hope, and I echo what the speaker said, that once we get to the floor and these 3 bills go to a vote, because we all did the work on them, that we're all vote in favor and get them over to the governor. But I wanted to thank you all before you left the room. I appreciate you. Moving on with our agenda, we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill AB 203, which revises provisions relating to special license plates.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Ways and Means, fellow colleagues. Appreciate the time this morning. I am here to present Assembly Bill 203. I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. This bill does 3 things. One, it allows for personalization of the prestigious license plates for our decorated veterans, like our Purple Heart veterans. 2, it exempts them from certain parking fees, which is similar to the disabled veteran current license plate policy. And 3, it increases, or it actually establishes a penalty for persons who make certain false statements. Like my colleague has noted in the past, we have individuals who fraudulently obtain license plate to get additional benefits, and we don't want to see stolen valor, so we're adding a penalty into here. And now on to the fiscal aspect. The good news, Madam Chair, is that on Nellis you should have some backup where the fiscal notes have been removed with this first reprint, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you so much for their presentation. Members, any questions on Assembly Bill 203? With looking at the fiscal notes, looks like you've gotten almost everything removed except the Inchie is removed as well, correct? Okay. I can take that one out of the folder. All right. Seeing no questions from the committee, I thank you for the presentation. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 203? Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Chair and committee members, for the record, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbit. I represent the 279,000 veterans in the state of Nevada, and also all of the Purple Heart veterans in the state of Nevada. I am the state commander for Nevada. We are in support of AB 203, and we think it's just an appropriate update to the decorations and things that our veterans have. Years ago, this body passed the Silver Star and Bronze Star. I'm a recipient of both of those. Also the Purple Heart. I will never give up my Purple Heart plate because I earned that one. Anyway, we are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service to our country. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and committee. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I'm with the American Legion Auxiliary. I'm a 48-year member, and I've known a number of Purple Heart recipients, Bronze Stars, and I've known them, many people over the years. And, you know, these people have really done a lot for our country, and I think that we should recognize them any way we can. Definitely American Legion Auxiliary, Doobie Reed Unit 30 in Sparks, Nevada. We support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 203? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 203? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone lines that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 203?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 203, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
This is Kiki Rogers for the record. I just want to support this bill and anything that we can do to help our veterans further on for all their duties that they have done for us. Please support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. BPS, do we have any other callers?
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 203? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 203? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone lines that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 203?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 203, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to the neutral position. If there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in neutral, please come to the table. Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in the neutral? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone lines that would like to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 203?
If you would like to testify neutral to Assembly Bill 203, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. I'll ask presenter, do you have any closing comments? All right, so with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 203, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 226. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and distinguished members of the Ways and Means Committee. I'm Assemblyman Ruben De Silva, Assembly District 28. And please forgive me if I don't get all the procedural stuff right. This is my first time being in front of a money committee. So just want to thank again Mr. Klinger from ENSHI, who was here with me, and also UNR, who very much helped me with this piece of legislation. Just briefly, what this bill is doing, Assembly Bill 226 now, is creating an opportunity for recipients of DACA and other deferred action programs to get in-state tuition after living here for 1 year and taking a additional high school equivalency test. And that's pretty much it. You know, this is something that we bestow upon everybody else who moves into our state. And this is a big hole now when it comes to a major portion of our population. And this bill is simply allowing those individuals to receive that tuition break, again, after living here for 12 months, which is pretty normative. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Klinger. Did you have anything to add?
Madam Chair, for the record, Chief Financial Officer Andrew Klinger, just here to speak to the fiscal note on this bill. The fiscal note that we put forward, really unable to sort of to determine the fiscal impact, just because we don't really know what the numbers would be. But what I will say is, in the biennium that's upcoming, there would be a fiscal impact. But once those in-state residents sort of get into the formula, then we get state funding for it. So it's really a 2-year fiscal impact. And then once they're in the system, because the state piece kicks in, once we have the numbers, then that sort of covers the gap.
I have a question for you. For current students that are paying the out-of-state tuition, because we didn't have this piece of legislation in place, would they be able to have their tuition status reconsidered if this were to pass?
Madam Chair, for the record, Andrew Klinger, I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'm not sure.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the presenters? Seeing none. See, we don't bite. You didn't have to be nervous. Go ahead and take a seat back, and I will invite anyone up to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 226.
Kent Irvin, Nevada Faculty Alliance in support. At the policy committees, we've supported the various bills that give either tuition or fee breaks to very deserving groups of students. We said there we could be more enthusiastic if there were some sort of funding mechanism and maybe in the future some sort of reimbursement arrangement for all of these. But so once you know what the cost is, it could be reimbursed. But for this one in particular, the cost is low, and we are in full support.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Paul Cathler, representing the Culinary Workers Union Local 226. We know that many culinary union families will benefit as a result of this bill passing, and that we think the state will too, and it might even have a positive impact on the budget, right, as Nevadans earn higher incomes because they're more educated. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Constance Brooks, representing the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We are in support, and we appreciate the Assemblyman De Silva, and his attention toward a very vulnerable population within our system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Kyle Delpy, President, Western Nevada College. I'll echo the comments. We are in support of this. Thank you.
Michael Flores, on behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno. Ditto.
Good morning, Anthony Ruiz, Nevada State College. We strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Elena Bobnova, for the record, representing Truckee Meadows Community College. We're in full support of this bill who assists our most vulnerable students that as a community college we serve on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else here in Carson City, we'll go to Las Vegas.
Thank you so very much, Madam Chair. First of all, let me say that's the fastest I've ever seen Michael Flores speak. But with that being said, Lawrence Weekly here, Chief Diversity Officer, College of Southern Nevada. We are in full support of AB 226, and we thank Assemblyman Ruben De Silva. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Michael Kagan, Director of the UNLV Immigration Clinic. I'm not speaking for UNLV or NSHE, but grateful to Assemblyman De Silva, grateful to all of the people at NSHE and all the NSHE institutions for their hard work on this. It fills an important gap, and I also want to note, in addition to people with deferred action, it would also help people, more than 6,000 Nevadans who have temporary protective status. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
David Beltran Barajas, DAVID BELTRAN BARAJAS, here with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, also in support for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else there in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support?
Good morning, Chair. My name is Lalo Montoya, LALOMONTOYA, and I'm here also in strong support of AB 226 and thankful to my Assemblyman Ruben De Silva for bringing this bill.
Thank you. Next. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Mario Garcia Mata, MATA. I'm here supporting AB 226 because I truly believe this is what moving forward as a fair society looks like. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Nereida Bobadilla, NEREIDA, BOBADILLA, and I am in full support of AB 226. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in Las Vegas at the table, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 226?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 226, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Is everyone able to hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, awesome. Well, good morning, Madam. My name is Reina Ferrufino, and I represent District 2. I have been a coordinator for a grant-funded program within the NSHE system for 2 years, and I'm also a current doctoral student at UNLV. Today, I'm representing my own opinion. The issues regarding AB 226 concern me as a first-generation proud daughter of Honduran immigrants and members of a mixed-status family. And most importantly, as a professional in higher education. In my professional role, one of my primary responsibilities is to see students one-on-one and help them navigate through college. It is my true passion. However, what if the system in place is not established to help support the student in front of me? What if there are current policies in place out of the control of educators to help support our students? With only 2 years in Nevada, I have seen how our current entry residency requirements are a formidable educational and career barrier for our DACA students, leading many to feel hopeless, sad, confused, angry, and in turn willing to drop out of college. It truly breaks my heart to see students who are filled with ambition and hope to work hard and willing to push through the odds. Yet, as a state, we currently are not providing equitable practices when we are denying DACA and TPS students eligibility to gain in-state residency. We know one of the major initiatives within the NSHE system is to increase access to students, yet we are denying access to a specific group of students. All other students who abide by the necessary requirements to be residents are granted in-state tuition. So what is the exception here, and why are we doing that for our DACA students? We must decide if we as a state and Nevadans will simply abide and establish complacent policies for our students, or are we willing to think critically and take action by helping create systemic changes that can help bridge the equity gaps of those whose voices are often unheard, silenced, and invalidated? I ask that you support AB 226. I am strongly in favor of this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other callers?
Yes, Chair.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. My name is Yvette Machado for the record, and I'm in full support of this bill. I want to give a special thanks to Assemblyman Ruben De Silva for speaking to the need of our state. I think that it's important not just to recognize that we are helping a vulnerable population, but this population in particular comes with a immeasurable amount of resilience. And when resilience is paired with an economic boost is beyond our expectations. So I'm in support of this bill. I think it serves the state of Nevada across party lines because it will help our economic systems, and we really need to focus on education access in this state. So I'm in full support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next caller?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Esther Plot-Cazares. I have been an academic counselor at CSN for over a decade and a current doctoral student at UNLV. Today, I'm representing my own opinion. As a professional in higher education, I have seen our current entry residency requirements where they have denied access and not follow equitable practices when it comes to our DACA and TPS students. I am tired of feeling helpless when I meet students where their immigration status has denied them pathway to in-state residency only because they possess a high school diploma from outside of Nevada. These students are Nevada residents. They pay taxes for 12 months or 10 years. At CSN, a full-time student pays $1,500 per semester, but an out-of-state student pays $5,500. This is not acceptable. I've met with several transfer students which chose to continue online education at their previous community college when they found out they were categorized as out of state and could never gain in-state tuition because of their status. These students could provide all the other requirements the residency form asks for, but their immigration status yet again creates a barrier. In these cases, not only has CSN lost a student enrollment, but UNLV or Nevada State College or UNR have also lost an additional transfer student. The majority of students I meet are going into healthcare, education, all of the occupations Nevada is in dire need of. I ask that you support AB 226. I'm here to amplify the voice of students I meet with every day. The students who cannot afford to enroll, the students which are denied equitable access to higher education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello? Oh, good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Amy Palmer, and I'm a higher education professional in Enchi and live in District 9. Today, I'm representing my own opinion. I am testifying in support of AB 226 to ensure that in-state tuition eligibility is expanded. AB 226 will increase access to higher education and will make in-state tuition more equitable for Nevada residents. Out-of-state tuition at Nevada public institutions is 2 to 5 times higher than in-state tuition, which is out of reach for many students. To illustrate, an out-of-state student taking 7 credits or more at the community college will pay $4,000 more per semester than the in-state resident. Currently, only students who have graduated from a Nevada high school are eligible for in-state tuition. That leaves out many students who have completed a high school equivalency and requires them to pay higher tuition when they have achieved the equivalent education in the same state. This is inequitable. Many other states have bills that permit high school equivalency to be eligible for in-state tuition, and I would ask for Nevada to do the same. Furthermore, DACA and undocumented students who did not graduate from a Nevada high school are denied in-state tuition due to their immigration status. This makes the cost of public education, higher education, unaffordable for many Nevada immigrants and impossible to gain in-state residency due to the current law. In my college role, I have met DACA and undocumented students who have a strong desire to pursue their college education, but are often hindered from doing so if they did not graduate from a Nevada high school. For all these reasons, I am asking that you support AB 226. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much for calling in. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 226? Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Committee. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I'm State Vice President of Nevada Families for Freedom. Federal law, Title 8, Chapter 14, Section 1623 states, quote, an alien who is not lawfully present in the United States shall not be eligible on the basis of residence within the state for any post-secondary education benefit unless a citizen or national of the United States is eligible for such a benefit in no less an amount, duration, and scope without regard to whether the citizen or national is such a resident, unquote. Excuse me. There was no misunderstanding about what this law meant when Congress passed it or when President Clinton signed it in 1996. Conference Report 104828 stated, quote, this section provides that illegal aliens are not eligible for in-state tuition rates at public institutions of higher education, unquote. FAIR states, quote, the issue is important to U.S. citizens, legal immigrants, and permanent residents because an out-of-state tuition is substantial. During the 2019-2020 academic year, the average in-state tuition rate for four-year public institutions in the U.S. was $10,440 per year, while the average out-of-state tuition was $26,820. That is a difference of approximately $16,400, which is cost prohibitive to many applicants, unquote. There is a negative impact to American students if this bill is passed. Many Americans, low to middle incomers, also would like to attend college, and they should have the precedence over national foreign nationals who are in our country illegally. Also remember, college entrance slots are limited, and this bill could provide college access to illegals at the risk of excluding students who are in this country legally. Golden Door Scholarships, a 501c3 organization, quote, provides large college scholarships, career and fellowship support, mentorships, and community building opportunities for undocumented students, unquote. This is just one of the many organizations that are available to help pay for illegals to attend our colleges and pay out-of-state tuition. Vote no on AB 226. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 226 here in Carson City? Seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 226? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 226?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Casey Roger for the record. The irony of having this conversation, we have laws, we have rules, we have reasons for keeping it taxpayers who live, yes, some of them pay taxes. Okay, once they become illegal, fine. Once they become legal, fine. But while you're illegal, the answer is no. And I will echo of Miss Lynn Chapman. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
CYRUSHOJJATY. The D in DACA means deferred, which is postpone action. So therefore, this isn't like a permanent legal status. So I will ditto the previous commentators. Yield.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lisa Partee, spelled P as in Paul, A-R-T as in Tom, E-E. To have we the people pay for tuition for people invading our country illegally is unconscionable. You have proposed more taxes on the citizens of Nevada for illegals than ever in our history, and this is America Last legislation that cannot be put through. We have New York kicking veterans and homeless out of housing and putting them on the street to house illegals. You are essentially doing the same thing, prioritizing illegals over people who would love to attend college but cannot afford to do so. The cost of college has increased 169% since 1980, and we don't need to award people breaking our laws by being here illegally free college so they can get ahead of those who are citizens of our countries. If these are DACA kids, then they live and work here like the rest of us and can contribute to their education. And just like my daughter had to do, can apply for grants and scholarships like generations before them. We've just heard people questioning the ability to sustain races for state employees who, as was stated, carried the state on their backs through 2 financial downturns. This is not equitable. It's not fair to the citizens of Nevada. I second Lynn Chapman's testimony, and citizens should have preference over people who are here illegally. How about DACA and others actually try and obtain citizenship before asking for free benefits? Could you please discuss encouraging those here illegally to come into the front door, apply for citizenship, tell us that they really want to be Americans and stand with our flag? But until then, the flags, which I note are never in the hearing rooms at legislature, which is very disturbing to me. No on AB 22. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, we will move to the position of neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 226? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in neutral of 226? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to testify in the neutral position on 226?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. I'll ask the sponsor of the bill if you have any closing remarks. All right. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 226. And as I said earlier, we will be taking things out of order. Assemblyman De Silva has a second bill on our agenda, and that's Assembly Bill 279. And we'll go ahead and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 279. Good morning again.
Thank you, Madam Chair and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Assemblyman Ruben De Silva, Assembly District 28. And again, I have another higher ed bill that's dealing with tuition. This bill now, Assembly Bill 279, is looking to create a benefit program within NSHE where the children of combat wounded veterans, Purple Heart recipients, would be receiving a tuition waiver. And there is an amendment in place that was brought in by NSHE where we will have an actual age sort of limit. So you would have to use this benefit after turning 18. You have 10 years or up until the age of 28. And that's pretty much it. So it's creating now a tuition waiver for the children of combat wounded veterans, Purple Heart recipients. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Klinger here for the fiscal analysis.
Good morning again.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, Andrew Klinger, Chief Financial Officer for Nevada System of Higher Education. And again, there's a fiscal impact, unable to determine exactly what that is. I would expect in this case, I would expect the fiscal impact to be relatively minimal.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the presenters? Seeing none, I'll ask you to take a step back and we'll invite those to the table that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 279. Good morning.
Doug Unger, D-O-U-G, UNGR, Nevada Faculty Alliance. We are in support of this bill, hoping that we can also at some point find ways to reimburse any fiscal notes that may appear in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. Kyle Dalpy, Western Nevada College. We support this bill, and thank you for bringing it forward, and thank you to our veterans.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and committee members, my name is Andrew Lee Pilbett, Chairman of the United Veterans Legislative Council, representing 279,000 veterans in our state. I'm also the state commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart. The estimate on the finance officer said he estimates it to be low. Several years back, we passed a law for Purple Heart recipients to use an exemption in our colleges. And as I understand it, only a dozen have used that. We are a very small number in our state. The estimate is less than 5,000 Purple Heart recipients out of 279,000. Of that, the majority of them are now Korean and Vietnam vets, which represents over 90% of them. So this will be a very small impact. However, our children lived through the same wars we did, and I'm just going to give you a brief example. And I'll use one of my own. So I was paralyzed briefly from the waist down. Came home, walking 1-inch steps for some time. My children would watch me roll out of bed, crawl up the dresser, and sometimes crawl down the hallway in the years past. Took a lot of years of therapy and stuff like that. But my children lived through my war wounds. Now, I didn't have anything like some of our young vets out of Afghanistan and Iraq. I didn't lose any limbs, any digits, but I did suffer for 50 years. I still have shrapnel on my back. I could be paralyzed again, and I don't care. I'm going to be here anyway. All right? So the reason for sharing this story with you is Our children of our veterans experience the damage to our vets in our state, and this is the least we can do for their children. Thank you. We support this bill.
Thank you.
Hi, for the record, Elena Bobnova, representing Trachomedis Community College. As a community college, we proudly serve thousands of veterans, and we support this bill, and we're looking forward to extending this benefit to dependents of veterans as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Constance Brooks, representing the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, who was just named recently one of the nation's top 10 veteran-friendly campuses. We appreciate this legislation providing additional supports to our veteran population, whom we appreciate and want to support them even further. So thank you for this legislation, Assemblyman De Silva.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Anthony Ruiz of Nevada State College, here to support this bill for another very incredibly deserving group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Flores, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Michael Flores. On behalf of University of Nevada, Reno, I've known Assemblyman De Silva since we were in elementary school, and I'm just so proud of him and his service to our country and to our state, and we're in full support. I don't want to let Mr. Weekly down with just a ditto, so I wanted to keep him happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning again, Madam Chair and committee. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I am a 48-year member of the American Legion Auxiliary, Doobie Reed Unit 30 in Sparks, Nevada. I'm a 10 times past president and currently the secretary-treasurer because nobody else wanted the job. I have volunteered many hours to help our veterans and their families through the years, and I know how difficult it can be for veterans' families, especially, to be able to have their children attend college because college is expensive. Our military families have sacrificed so much for our country, and this bill would hopefully encourage the children of Purple Heart recipients to attend college and achieve their goals in life. Waiving fees could help these family members. When money is a barrier for the children of the Purple Heart recipients, Nevada should step up and help these families who gave so much. It is at the least we can do. Please vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in Carson City? Seeing none. Going to Las Vegas, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 279?
Sorry, Madam Chair, for the delay. We are in support of this bill 100%, and we thank you so much for this opportunity to testify. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think you were shorter than Mr. Flores this time.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Frank Woodbeck, College of Southern Nevada, in support of this bill. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Lawrence Weekly. Didn't put my name on the record.
Thank you so much, both of you. Seeing no one else in Las Vegas, I would like to testify in support. Moving to our phone lines. BPS, do we have anyone joining us by phone that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 279?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 279, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much, and we will move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 279? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 279? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone on the phone lines that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 279?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 279, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to the neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the position of neutral on Assembly Bill 279? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 279? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to testify in neutral on 279?
If you would like to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 279, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And we'll ask the sponsor if you have any closing remarks. Thank you so much. Seeing none, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 279, and we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 232 and invite Assemblyman Hibbets to the table.
Good morning, Madam
Good
Chair.
morning. And I should have said Assemblyman Hibbets and Assemblyman Nguyen. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and members of the esteemed Committee on Ways and Means. My name, for the record, is Brian Hibbets, and I represent Assembly District 13. I'm happy to present Assembly Bill 232, which at its heart is a small business survivability bill. The bill limits the tax imposed upon the sale of premium cigars to not more than 50 cents nor less than 30 cents for each cigar. The fiscal impact was a fiscal note prepared by Nevada's Department of Taxation, indicating a need to make programming changes to their software programs to incorporate a new classification for tax rates. The one-time programmer expenses and overtime comes to a whopping $1,731. The department determined there will be a loss of revenue to the bill, but they cannot determine that at this time based on how taxes are reported. My colleague has a few comments.
Good morning. My name is Yui Nguyen. I probably represent Assembly District 8 as a small business owner myself, and the constituent of my district are opening up cigar lounge in my district, have come up and asked me to support this bill, and that's why I'm here. And I know in the interest of time, want to stand for question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Thank you very much, Chair. So tell me, how did you come up with the 50 cents cap versus $1 or $2?
Thank you for the question. Currently, one thing this bill does is define premium cigars because they're under the other tobacco products category, which is currently taxed at 30% of wholesale. The thought process was looking around the country at other states. Arizona, for example, is capped at 22 cents. Texas is capped at 1 cent. Florida has no tobacco tax. Friday, Governor of Montana signed a bill capping their premium cigar tax at 35 cents. So the thought process was we were trying not to overly burden the tax system by reducing the taxes too much, while still giving our retail businesses some relief from the tax burden that they feel.
Yes,
Brian
please.
Hibbets, to record, to add to that, my colleague, New Mexico is also at 50 cents.
Okay, thank you. So can you talk a little bit about the comparison with other tobacco products, how this would work with cigarillos, tobacco loose, cigarettes as well? How does it compare with that? Because for years, the OTPCs or OTPs, sorry, I'm trying to get that acronym, they've been taxed less than comparison to cigarette taxes. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Brian Hibbets, for the record. Cigarettes, it's my understanding, cigarettes are taxed at 9 cents a piece at a flat rate. This bill would not affect anything other than what is defined as a premium cigar, which is hand-rolled with whole leaf tobacco and no tip or mouthpiece. So it would not affect cigarillos, would not affect loose leaf tobacco, does not affect vape products, anything of those natures. It only affects those things defined as a premium cigar. And I can go into more detail. If you look into Nellis on the exhibits, there are actually pictures of what a premium cigar is. And one thing I did forget to mention is the taxation rate from people ordering from the internet is they're currently paying 0.
Members, other questions? Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this might be a question for legal, but do you have any idea why the 2/3? It doesn't look like we're raising a tax or a fee.
I can answer that if legal would like me to.
Mr. Hibbets, hold on one moment. Assemblywoman Vargas.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. This came up following our revenue hearing when the bill was reprinted. The reason why the 2/3 majority vote is now required is because as part of the amendment to this bill, there was a floor set so that it's going to be between 30 cents and 50 cents, and the 30 cents came from, which could be higher on certain cigars because other tobacco products are taxed at 30%. And so if you had a wholesale premium cigar sold at 50 cents, 30% of that was actually going to be lower than the new floor of 30 cents.
Thank you so much for that answer as chair of our Revenue Committee. Perfect. I know it's a small fiscal note that taxation has. Will taxation be able to absorb that? Have you had a conversation with them?
Brian Hibbets for the record. We have been in discussions. Currently at this time, they're not able to remove the fiscal note simply because the effective date of this is they would have to do the work during this current fiscal year, which obviously the budget was closed for that last year. I did have them look at the amendment just because the fiscal note was submitted on the as introduced bill, and they did look at the amendment and said there would be no change with that. They wouldn't incur any further costs.
Is there anyone here in the audience from taxation that can speak to your fiscal note? Good morning. I know it's a small fiscal note, but just to get it on the record.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Joe Bernardi. I am the Deputy Director for IT for the Department of Taxation. And yet we understand that this is a really small fiscal note, but it will require programming of our information systems. And we estimate just 15 hours, but as the Assemblyman said, with our budget being closed, we're not able to absorb that at this time.
Thank you so much for that. And this question will go to any one of the three of you that could answer it. What is the projected loss in revenue to the unrestricted general fund if this piece of legislation were approved? And do you know?
Madam Chair, for the record, Joe Bernardi, Department of Taxation. We're unable to determine that at this time because it's my understanding we don't track separately how those, how the OTP is tracked as we accept the taxes.
Madam Chair, if I may follow up, Brian Hibbets for the record. If I remember correctly, there was approximately $35 million in OTP collected by the state. I believe that was last fiscal year. And when you look around the country at states that have already enacted this legislation, it accounts for somewhere in the neighborhood of 2% of OTP. So we estimate on the high end that it would be approximately $2 million-ish difference.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Members, any other questions? All right.
Madam Chair, just Yui Wen, Assembly District 8 for the record. Just want to highlight that this is also a pilot program that we're asking to institute, and it has a sunset date of June 30th, 2027. Just want to put that on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyman Haven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm just trying to remember from the policy hearing, the reason for the, as Assemblyman Wynn stated, the sunset provision, that was because I believe, Assemblyman Hibbets, you guys had projected that you'd actually see an increase in sales in Nevada because people would stop buying them from out of state, and therefore you were actually projecting and being hopeful that there would actually be an increase to the general fund through this, and that, please just help me make sure that I'm correct. That was the reason for adding the sunset provision, so we weren't hurting the general fund and that we could ensure that this actually was going to be a net positive for us.
Brian Hibbets for the record. That's correct. While we can't obviously predict the future, we can look at the other states that have done this that have seen an overall increase in their revenue based on conducting this type of a move in their taxation structure. When people can go to a physical location and get the product immediately, they're less likely to buy from an internet retailer or from a mail order in order to purchase locally and support the small businesses that are in our state. And each state, for instance, Michigan, had a sunset on theirs when they did it, and they removed that sunset, and it was signed into law by Governor Whitmer because they saw the exponential growth in their tax revenue because of it.
Assemblyman Miller.
Thank you, Chair. Just have a quick question. What's the, I guess, kind of the percentage in difference in price in what people are buying online versus in person?
Brian Hibbets for the record, because I don't have the exhibit in front of me. If you look at the two receipts in the exhibit in Nellis, it will show, I want to say it's 35%, 38% for that one particular cigar that that was brought up in the policy committee, because they're not paying sales tax and they're not paying the tobacco tax that Nevada requires.
And just a question, a premium cigar, what is that? Is that the, can you buy that in your local 7-Eleven store? Or do you have to go to a specialty cigar that are growing businesses in our state to get those cigars?
Brian Hibbets for the record. Thank you for the question, ma'am. A premium cigar is not going to be bought in a 7-Eleven or a general convenience store. There are some one-off bodegas that do have humidors with premium cigars in them, but they're rare. A premium cigar is going to be purchased in a premium cigar lounge or shop, which are locally owned. There's probably, off the top of my head, I would say at most 10 of them in the Las Vegas Valley. Contrary to popular belief, I have not visited each and every one of them myself. But I plan on it. A premium cigar is I don't want to say a luxury item, it's an indulgence. It is, again, it's defined as made with whole leaf tobacco, no tip or mouthpiece on it, and has to be rolled by hand. We're not talking about machine-made cigarillos or, I don't want to use brand names, but the smaller, cheaper versions that you might see wandering down the street.
Thank you for that. I hope we don't see any cigars just wandering down the street. Members, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'll invite you to step back, take a seat, and we will open it up for testimony and support. If there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 232, I invite you to come to the table. Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 232? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 232?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 232, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Moving to opposition, is there anyone here that in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 232? Good morning.
Good morning. Barry Cole, B-A-R-R-Y, C-O-L-E. Just Googling prices for a premium cigar, according to Cigar World, $10 to $20 per cigar. The best, as I understand, are rolled on the thigh of a virgin in Cuba. That's what I was once told in Key West, Florida, when I went to a wedding. I don't know. I don't smoke them. My concern is oral cancer. So I know cigars are more likely to probably contribute to oral cancer because the smoke is not deeply inhaled the way a cigarette is. So from a physician's perspective, I do have concerns about the implications for health. And it's interesting that perhaps the tax should be based on what's the likelihood of needing future medical care. We've never priced anything according to the risk it really poses. I'm not particularly trying to take fine cigars away from Super Bowl fans because I don't think they're smoked that often, but it is an indulgence that does come with a negative health risk, and I think we need to at least act like we're cognizant of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See no one else here in Carson City in opposition, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 232? Seeing none, VPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 232?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 232, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair Moreno and committee members. For the record, my name is Caitlin Gatchanyan, CAITLIN, and I am the Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. On behalf of the American Heart Association, I would like to express our opposition to AB 232. An estimated of 380,000 U.S. students were current cigar users in 2021, making cigars the second most popular tobacco product amongst youth. Regular cigar smoking increases the risk of cancers of the lung, oral cavity, larynx, and esophagus. Cigar smokers have a 27% higher risk of heart disease and a 45% higher risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease as compared to people who were not cigar smokers. Historically, cigar smoking in the United States has been a behavior of older men, but the industry's increased marketing of these products to targeted groups increased the prevalence of use among adolescents. Reducing the tax on cigars would make them cheaper and more accessible to youth, as cigar use is high amongst youth who use other tobacco products or drugs than among youth who do not use these products. The tobacco industry continues to use tactics to appeal to youth and has been since the early 1900s. Tobacco companies know that youth use of tobacco is price sensitive, and raising tobacco prices reduces youth smoking. This bill would set a precedent for other tobacco product taxes to be lowered and more accessible to youth. Please oppose AB 232 and protect the health of our youth. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. So coming back here to Carson City, is there anyone that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 232? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 232? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 232?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 232, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. I'll ask the presenters if you have any closing comments.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to address the opposition comment from the Heart Association. I object to their objection simply because it is a policy objection that should have been brought up in the Policy Committee and not in the Money Committee, which was not done, and if they choose to, they can object to it once it gets to the Senate. And also, the youth use of tobacco or cigars is not in the premium industry. There are no 16-year-olds walking into a premium cigar shop to buy a $32 Padron cigar. They are buying the smaller non-premium cigars that we discussed from 7-Eleven, which are not affected by this bill one way or the other. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your support.
Thank you, and with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 232, and we're going to take a 1-minute recess.
We'll go ahead and call our hearing back to order. And with that, I'll go ahead and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 386. And we'll welcome our chair to the podium. And please feel free to begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. For the record, I am Danielle Monroe Moreno. I represent Assembly District 1 in North Las Vegas. I thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 386, which creates the Board of Licensed Certified Professional Midwives, which is comprised of 9 members appointed by the Administrator of the Division of Public and Behavioral Health for the Department of Health and Human Services. Currently, in the state of Nevada, we do not have a licensure process for certified professional midwives. This measure provides for that licensure of licensed certified professional midwives by the division and specifies that the division and the board will share the responsibility of regulating the licensure. As some of you that were on this committee last session, this policy, I made a promise to our traditional midwives that this would be an optional licensure, so it remains that. There's nothing in the bill that mandates all midwives in the state of Nevada to become licensed. You have 2 fiscal notes, and they have been amended. The fiscal note from the Department of Health and Human Services, Healthcare Financing and Policy has revised their fiscal note to a $0 fiscal note. And the fiscal note from the Department of Health and Human Services, Public and Behavioral Health does still have a fiscal note. It's been cut in half from the original fiscal note that you received. However, there are still discussions going on, and we believe that that will be lowered even more with some policy amendments to the bill that we will have ready for you for your work session. And with that, we'll stand for questions.
Thank you so much. Committee, do we have any questions regarding Assembly Bill 386? With that, that was pretty easy. I'll excuse you guys from the dais, and we'll go ahead and open the hearing for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 386 here in Carson City.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Kanani Espinoza on behalf of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Our nursing school and medical school would testified in support in the policy committee, and we would like to support it here as well.
Good morning, Anthony Ruiz with Nevada State College. Happy to support this bill. We too joined in support in the policy committee and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wanting to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 386? BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 386?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 386, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And then we'll go ahead and open the AB 386 for testimony in opposition here in Carson City. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 386? Please go ahead when you're ready.
My name is Lenny Sue Tinseth. I am an LM and a CPM, and I've been practicing for 37 years. I represent Great Basin Midwives and Nevada Midwives Association. I would like to thank the committee this morning, for allowing us to be here today, and especially the chair, Danielle Monroe Marino. I would also like to thank the chair for her passion to bring this attention to women and midwives with the midwifery bill. The board described in this bill will come with a cost per year. There will only be a handful of LCPMs that would not be able, and they would not be able to really afford this cost of the bill. The Assemblywoman has stated in a previous session that the cost will be taken care of. But what grant or gift or to secure the responsibility to assure that this will not become a burden to the state year after year. 60% of births in the state of Nevada are paid by Medicaid. The reimbursement rate is approximately $1,000. For a facility fee, $1,500. The midwives have always cared for families on Medicaid and Medicaid reimbursement. Without Medicaid reimbursement, the truth is all midwives I know practicing in the state allow for a percentage of pro bono births. Any woman in need who wants a home birth can have one. A low estimation of midwife pro bono births actually saves the state approximately $200,000 in Medicaid costs every year. This does not account for the Medicaid patients that do have means to pay for their births without using the access to their Medicaid provisions. We provide this service without being told to. Our heart is for mothers and babies to receive the right care without obstacles. One mother that could not afford agreed to clean my office. That did not even cover $1,000. It didn't meet, that was not the goal. The goal was that she felt good about providing for, recipient of the services she received. Families have shared with you the community of other community members paying for their births. Stephanie was one of these who received one of these gifts. Years later, her husband hit the jackpot at Maverick for $30,000. She came and paid for her births and then also paid for other women's births so they could be blessed as she was blessed. Please don't pass this bill so obscurely and poorly written that even legal has a hard time interpreting on a notion that it will solve a disparity problem that is widely cared for in the community. I would like to stress to the committee that as written and with recent amendments, that the industry and the community overwhelmingly oppose AB 386. Thank you.
Good morning, Ways and Means Committee and Ms. Monroe Marino. My name is Garrett Singer. I'm a father to a home birth child. I oppose Bill AB 386. Nevada is still a rural state. We have more small towns than we do cities. Access to hospital service or birth centers is limited for many of its citizens. If this bill passes, it will create unsafe situations for women who are unable or unwilling to obtain medicalized care. It is a burden and strain on families that have to travel long distances for medical care, checkups, and delivery. The care you receive at home is better than at a hospital, not only from a midwife, but the community and family members that are there to help. Midwifery is not money-driven. It is personal and care-driven. Safety for my partner and my child is a top priority for home births by certified professional midwives. If there are risks or complications that would make for an unsafe home birth, the midwife will not provide care. The rights of women and families choosing where and how their children are brought into this world should not be hindered. It should remain free, like this state. Thank you.
Good morning, Ways and Means Committee and Mrs. Monroe Marino. My name is Kelsey Edwards, and I am a mother who had the honor of having a home birth, and I oppose the bill AB 386. To me, this bill feels like another infringement on the choices I make about my body. Medicalized birth is a relatively new phenomenon in our society, yet it is perceived as the standard of practice. Having the choice to choose midwifery care over medicalized care was a choice I made for the safety of myself and my child. Medical professionals in the lifetime of their careers will not come close to having the experience and know-how of midwives. And as we know, expertise comes from experience. From the moment I entered midwifery care and throughout my experience, my safety was the top priority. I had previously undergone medical care from 2 different facilities with 2 separate OBs and was never given the peace of mind I received in the moments of meeting my midwife. It's right here next to me. This to me was priceless. The cost was not a driving force for me, but it was a relief to evade an outrageous medical bill. I paid a standard flat rate that included extensive care and aftercare home visits. Yes, that is right. I never had to leave my house in the first 2 weeks of postpartum. And those of you who have had children know this is a godsend for your recovery. Women's bodies have been birthing children since the beginning of time and will continue to do so despite the changes that come. Our society needs to stop looking at births as medical procedures and view them for what they are, natural bodily processes. Home births honor this to the fullest. This bill passing would be detrimental to our state, as this is a viable means of birth. And as a proud home birth mother, I can say without a shadow of the doubt that people of Nevada do not want medicalized care for many reasons, and those top two being safety and cost. I ask you please vote in opposition of this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll go ahead. Are you coming up to give testimony in opposition? Okay.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Taylor Turner. I'm a home birth mother, doula, and educator. I wanted to come here today and express my deep concern for the future of midwifery. As many of you know, licensure came about to get rid of midwives. There was once a time when traditional midwives were the only ones attending births, and then they passed this wisdom down to others who were called. When we see this stringent of requirements for students as we do in this bill, it will be harder for the future generation of midwives to access apprenticeship, especially in the northern part of the state, where there's already a very low number of practicing midwives. I hear all the time from many mothers in the state who are not happy with the medicalized midwifery we are seeing today and want something more traditional. There are also the families who do not want to be involved with government and regulation whatsoever and really value their privacy. The required disclosure form in this bill, even for those not wanting to be regulated, is still regulating them by making it a requirement. This does not support autonomy and freedom. I oppose this bill, as does most of Nevada. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Haley De La Cruz. Good morning, committee. My family and I are a home birth family. I have experienced medical birth as well in the hospital, which ended in medical intervention and a C-section, which we got the bill in the mail for about $60,000, and we had insurance. But my family and I drove an hour and a half to be here today. I live in Urington, Nevada, which is rural Nevada. There are quite a few home birth families in Urington, to name a few: Brianna Coker and her family, Melody Holland and her family, Stephanie and her family, and my family and I. The families in my community deserve to have access to affordable midwifery care. All families, regardless of income, should have access to the professional and personal care of midwives from their homes. This is why I strongly oppose this bill. Please take this into consideration. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Scott Tinseth, Tinseth.
Sir, can you turn your mic on or speak closer to the mic? Thanks.
Scott Tinseth, Tinseth. Father of 5 children, all born at home, 9 grandchildren, 8 born at home, and I strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll go to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, is there anyone wishing to give testimony in the opposition to Assembly Bill 386? Please go ahead and start when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Gray, Kristingray, and I am opposed to AB 386. I am choosing to represent the families of Nevada. With these meetings taking place during school drop-off, many are unable to attend today. Midwives are meant to serve the families that hire them and not be beholden to the powers of governance. Since the dawn of time, there has been prostitution and midwives. Midwives have long filled a role that is ushering of women into motherhood and new humans into this earthly existence. Here is my amendment suggestion. Strike the whole bill and replace it with midwives are governed by the families that they serve. As previously, a dear friend and a wonderful midwife who passed from this life recently has had experience as both a traditional midwife and a licensed midwife. These are her words. Controversial as it will be, I eliminated almost all birth intervention by returning my license. Having been a midwife since 1976, I have seen the profound and oftentimes disturbing changes in birth, even within the home birth community, as outside interests have usurped the relationship between a midwife and her clients. When licensing became an option, I was lured by the promise of recognition, acceptance, and financial reward. I bought the paper and served the families as a licensed midwife for 5 years. Once I had the clarity about the disruption this was causing in the way I chose to serve, I returned my license and returned to serving the family instead of the governing bodies. Now when I walk into the home of my clients, no one is behind me trying to crowd in and have their say. My relationships with the families I serve is strictly between us. I am answerable to the family and not a licensing board of mostly providers that are not my peers and truly do not comprehend the uniqueness of each family in a birth at home. As I have previously stated, this bill is bigger than a handful of midwives who are pushing for this. There is absolutely no budget to sustain this bill. When asked about that, I was told that the state would pay for it. We have been told that licensure is voluntary, even though there is not any specific language stated in this bill that it is so. There aren't enough midwives in the state that would want to be licensed to even cover 10% of this proposed cost. The money that is going to come for this board will have to come out of the state coffers. The money spent on a board that is also setting a dangerous precedent for other professions. What other professions would agree to having other professionals on their board? Section 17 outlines these specifics. As the board now stands in the bill, there will be an APRN or OB, 4 LCPMs, a provider of neonatal or pediatrics, a member of the general public, and non-voting members as a social worker and a liaison to the state. Non-licensed CPMs and traditional midwives are not represented on the board, even though they are directly affected by portions of this bill, even if they choose not to become licensed. You are about to make a decision that affects everyone in the state, whether you think it does or not. This is bigger than just a handful of midwives. Thank you.
For the record, Romina Paolucci, ROMINA PAULUCCI. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Romina. I am a mother of 3 and a home birth midwife serving families in Southern Nevada. I want to thank Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno for working so hard, wanting to understand and improve maternal and neonatal outcomes here in our state. We know that it's an issue of high concern across the nation, but it's heavily felt here, so I deeply appreciate your efforts. I personally became a midwife after less than desirable reproductive care within the medical system. I am currently in opposition of this bill, although I do support the original intent of increasing care, humanized care for families in this state. Some language of concern for me, if we look at Section 20, we have been asking for a clearer path of education for CPMs and LCPMs here in Nevada. We do see that in Section 20, it was added, the option for U.S. Meramec or NARM Bridge. However, if you look down to Section 103, it continues to just remove this option completely. This would absolutely hinder current students from practicing in the future, completing their licensure, their certification, and then as well in the future, it would absolutely not even allow these students to be able to seek licensure or certification here in Nevada because it would remove that educational option. Also, we have had concern with having an obstetrician and a social worker on this board. Again, as Kristen said previously, there aren't other industries that have people of other professions on their board. Midwifery has been within the power of women and families for a very long time, and it's been very miraculous that Nevada has been able to maintain these rights for all of this time, and it would be very unfortunate that now in the seeking of education and licensure, we would lose those rights.
That board should be only midwives and parents and families who support midwifery already. Unfortunately, we don't have many obstetricians that currently support midwives. I do want to thank you, Assemblywoman, for confirming that this bill is voluntary. I would love to see that in the final bill. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Jessica Lagore for the record. I'm a traditional midwife. I'm not a certified professional midwife. I'm here in support of my certified professional midwife colleagues and the future of midwifery in Nevada. I oppose AB 386 because it was not written with the collaboration of the community. I know that you have been told many times that it was, but it was not. The bill was written behind closed doors by only a few people, and this is not the bill that the community agreed on. Sorry. We as a whole are not staunchly against licensure for all the reasons mentioned in the presentations of the bill. We are against licensure being presented in a way that this one was, which was non-collaborative and with a complete disregard of the entire community and the industry. Historically, states that regulate midwives have squelched the autonomy of the mother, and those moms now travel to Nevada to have their babies. We're an island of freedom for home birthing mothers, and if all the CPMs license under this bill, which many of them have said they will not, mothers in Nevada and surrounding states will lose choice, access, and freedom in childbirth. Even if it doesn't state it now, the openness of just having everything be up to the board is too uncertain. While not all midwives will be held to the rules of the proposed board, we cannot take on the volume of women who will be falling through the cracks and yet still deserve care. Currently, Nevada recognizes a medical license for midwives in the form of nurse midwives. Currently, Nevada midwives attend peer review and regular continuing education. Currently, Nevada families have all the choices, and the CPMs I have spoken to, again, said they would not comply with this license. Additionally, it is way too long for anyone to actually read. So please check the online polls, look at the opinions of the families of Nevada, and see that this bill is not actually supported by Nevada families or the community that it's going to control.
Hello, my name is Amy Norris, A-M-I-E-N-O-R-R-I-S. I am a home birthing mother in Las Vegas, and I oppose this bill. I had my first baby in the hospital, fully covered by insurance, except for the deductibles. And the amount that I paid for that birth was more than I paid for all of my other home births put together. My 3 girls who were born at home, 2 of them, their birth fees were fully affordable. Even for a low-income family, we worked hard and we paid for them out of pocket with the payment plan with our midwife. At no point did we feel we could not afford that birth. For one of our births, we did not have money available, and we were able to find a midwife, as Lenny Sue has stated, that worked with us, and we bartered services with her, and our birth was covered. I do not feel that having licensure available will increase access to midwives for low-income women. I have seen my story played out in families all over Las Vegas, as I have worked with many families who are expecting or have recently had babies over the course of the past 15 years. I oppose this bill also because, as others have stated, it is not clearly written out in the bill that licensure would be voluntary. I know that we've heard verbal assurances to that effect, but it is not stated in the bill itself that licensure is voluntary. And even if it was, we have seen in the past in other states where voluntary licensure is instituted that over time it becomes mandatory and families lose the option to have access to their provider of choice. For these reasons and many more, I oppose this bill. Thank you.
With that, we'll go to the phone lines. BPS, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 386?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 386, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, committee chairs and members. My name is Camila Santiago. I'm a certified professional midwife in Southern Nevada and committee member of Nevada Midwives Association. I'm representing my own opinion. Midwives and home birth mothers have tried to propose amendments that would bring this bill to a middle ground to only be completely disregarded by the authors and sponsors of this bill. If this bill passes, and even if I wish to become licensed, I would not be able to afford the cost involved in having mandatory liability insurance, because myself, along with the great majority of midwives, run solo practices and small practices. In order to afford that, we would need to either increase volume drastically, practice under a group, or increase our fees. Just another piece of information, licensed midwives in Washington state, which has been the state reference for this bill, practice on average for only 6 years. If we can keep up with the costs involved in being licensed, we can keep up with the volume we need to take in order to afford being licensed. Licensing under those terms will be unsustainable, expensive, lead to burnout, and increase the shortage of midwives in this state. Furthermore, I'm still not in favor of the board being composed of medical providers that have no training and knowledge in out-of-hospital birth. The medical system harm mothers and babies, take away babies from home birth families all the time to CPS in this state, all across the country, especially from minority groups, through their policies and regulations. The numbers historically speak for itself. Doctors and social workers have no place in the board and governing midwives. For these reasons, I oppose AB 386. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Hello, my name is Michael Ryan, Michael-Ryan. I'm a longtime resident of Nevada and a Marine Corps veteran. Please oppose AB 386, which harms traditional practicing midwives, giving preference to freestanding birth clinics, implementing more bureaucratic regulations. With the lack of health care in Nevada, especially in rural counties, this could limit options available to expectant mothers seeking the care of a traditional midwife. Traditional midwives have a very positive outcomes for home births, for mothers and babies. Please do not spend the money to diminish and burden with unneeded regulations the practice of traditional midwives with a bureaucratic board. Please vote no on AB 386. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cassia Lopez, Cassia-Lopez. I am a rural mom, home birther, and birth photographer in Nevada. I have witnessed many instances where mothers of all different backgrounds were able to be served by their midwives, regardless of high income economic status or low income economic status. I oppose this bill for all the reasons that were mentioned previously. But I just want to remind you, our representatives, that many Nevadans are against this bill. Many who can't speak today because they are families, mothers, they're at work, they're with their children, they're at school. And we are well informed. We've read this bill, we've read the amendments, we are in community with our midwives and each other, and we still oppose this bill. Please listen to us, the polls, and all your constituents when we say, please oppose AB 386. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Katie Banuelos. That's Banuellos. I'm here representing the Libertarian Party of Nevada in opposition to AB 386. I'm also speaking as a home birth mother of two. I had both of my babies at home. First of all, I think it's disingenuous to call this bill an optional licensure program. So it's only optional for a small number of people. All the certified professional midwives are going to be impacted by this. Anyone who wants to become a midwife or wants to get licensed in the future is going to be impacted by this. And something that's optional today may not remain optional tomorrow, especially with the degree of latitude given to the oversight board. Second, this bill is clearly an example of rent seeking. Okay, you have certain providers of midwifery services who are pushing for this bill because it will change the requirements on birth center operators in a way that will benefit them personally, but it's at the expense of all the other midwives in the state who do not support the institution of a state-level licensure program. This bill is not broadly supported by midwives or home birth parents in Nevada. So we believe this bill will negatively impact the provision of midwifery care in Nevada, will impose costly and burdensome requirements on practitioners, reduce the number of practicing midwives in the state, and reduce access to care. Childbirth is a deeply personal experience. Every mother should have the right and opportunity to seek out the care and the provider best suited to her needs. And women who seek out midwifery services or choose to have their prenatal care and birth outside the traditional hospital setting do so for myriad reasons. It's not reasonable or desirable to artificially limit their alternatives. Their choices need to be respected. Please reject this proposal. Vote no on AB 36. Thank you.
Chair, there are no additional callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll go ahead to take testimony in the neutral here in Carson City to AB 386.
Good morning, Vice Chair and members of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee. My name is Sheila Bray with the University of Nevada, Reno. We are neutral on this bill. We'd like to thank the sponsor for bringing it forth. I'm really calling attention out to the best practices and evidence-based practices for midwifery care, and thank her for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll go to Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, is there anyone wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 386? BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line wishing to give neutral testimony to Assembly Bill 386?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 386, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. With that, I'll invite the bill sponsor back up to the dais for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and Committee, for hearing the bill. I will remind all of us that we are here as a fiscal committee, not a policy committee. This policy was vetted in the policy committee, and once it moves out of this body, which I hope that it does, it will have another policy hearing on the Senate side. And as I said at the beginning, this provides another option for birthing persons, mamas, families, parents in our state. I brought this bill last session because I brought the bill because parents in my district asked me to because of some negative outcomes that they had had with midwives, specifically one midwife. And the family that had hired her, she said that she was a licensed midwife in the state of Nevada, and we had no licensure. She gave birth to twins, but only one of her twins lived, and she almost died. And she was looking for recourse that we just did not have. What AB 386 does is just provide another option. But providing that another option by having a licensure in our state, we can actually, as you've heard from the support from our educational institutions, bring the education component to the state of Nevada, thereby increasing the options of those who may want to be a licensed, certified professional midwife. But currently at UNLV, and I believe at Nevada State College, they're working on midwifery programs to train the nurse midwives. So we're increasing this. And yes, some of the testimony was like, we don't have enough women of color that are midwives in our state. And I'll test that we don't have enough doctors of color that are birthing babies in this state. There's nothing in this bill that says that there's financial reward for a midwife if she becomes licensed at all. There's nothing that speaks to the cost of the midwives, only with the fiscal note that you saw that was removed to a zero because the state of Nevada will save money. So that's why that fiscal note went to zero. So as I said, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmama, and I've had grandchildren born in the hospitals and a home birth in a swimming pool. So I've seen both sides of it, and I believe this is a great option for all who choose to have a baby in the state of Nevada, just another birthing option that's a safe birthing option. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 386, and we will take a 1-minute recess. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, bringing the meeting back to order. We'll continue on and continue to go out of order. The next bill that we will hear will be Senate Bill 452. And invite our fiscal staff. Good morning. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Ways and Means Committee, it's good to see you this morning. For the record, I am Michael Nakamoto, Chief Principal Deputy Fiscal Analyst with the Fiscal Analysis Division of the Legislative Counsel Bureau. Before I start my presentation on SB 452, I will provide the usual disclaimer that as nonpartisan LCB staff, I am not here to support or oppose any legislation. I have, however, been asked to walk through the provisions of SB 452, which deals with the distribution of certain proceeds for the basic governmental services tax. There is in Nellis, and the members of the committee should have a table that has been put together titled Overview and History of the Allocation of Certain Governmental Services Tax, or GST revenue, between the State General Fund and the State Highway Fund. So the tax, just as an overview, most if not all of you are aware of this tax. It was originally put in place in the 1963 session, and there are a couple of components of that tax that are relevant to this discussion. And the first is the original distribution of the tax. It was originally put in place as a substitute for personal property tax on vehicles. But the tax, when it was put into place back in 1963, was only distributed to local governments, cities, counties, and so on, as well as school districts. There was no state component to this tax. The second part is kind of the relevant part in terms of how the history of this distribution came forth is the how the tax is structured. So as it was put into place and as it remains now, the tax is on the value of a vehicle. It's the manufacturer's suggested retail price of the vehicle when it's first offered for sale in Nevada without any options or add-ons or anything of that sort. Then that is, value is multiplied by 35%, and then there is a depreciation factor that is added to the vehicle before the tax rate of 4% is applied. And so back before the 2009 session, that depreciation schedule started for both for small automobiles as well as trucks and buses and trailers and so on, with new vehicles at 100%. So there was no depreciation factor. And then cars specifically that were 1 year old were at 85%, and then it worked all the way down to vehicles that were 9 years or older or older were down to 5%. For buses and trucks, it started at 100% for new vehicles. 1 year old vehicles were at 75%, and then it worked all the way down to vehicles that were 10 years old or older at 13%. So in Senate Bill 429 of the 2009 session, the legislature, in order to generate more money for the state during the recession, passed Senate Bill 429, which basically took those depreciation schedules for all vehicles except for new vehicles and added 10% to it. So the 1 year old car, instead of being at 95% or at 85%, went to 95%, and it worked the whole way down the schedule to where a vehicle that was 9 years old or older went from 5% to 15%. And then the bill said that effective September 1st, 2009, those proceeds from that increment, 100% of them would go to the state general fund. And that was the way that the tax was supposed to be distributed for FY 2010 through FY 2013. So if you look at the table under SB 429, those are in bold. And then in FY 2014, it was supposed to reverse, and 100% of those proceeds were to be distributed to the State Highway Fund. If you move over to the right one column, you'll see Assembly Bill 491 of the 2013 session, which revised that distribution beginning in FY 2014, such that 100% of the proceeds would remain in the general fund for FY 2014 and FY 2015, again shown in bold, and then in FY 2016, the proceeds were to, again, 100% were to revert to the State Highway Fund. Moving to the right again, in Senate Bill 483 of the 2015 session, the legislature chose to keep 100% of the proceeds from this increment in the State General Fund in FY 2016, and then have it be a 50-50 split between the General Fund and the Highway Fund in FY 2017. And then in FY 2018 and all future fiscal years, it would be 100% to the State Highway Fund. In Assembly Bill 486 of the 2017 session, the legislature chose instead to retain 25% of these proceeds in the State General Fund, with 75% going to the State Highway Fund for FY 2018 and FY 2019, and then in FY 2020 it would be 100% to the State Highway Fund. In SB 541 of the 2019 session, they decided to make that 25-75% split permanent, which was the case until FY 2021. As a result of the pandemic, in SB 3 of the 31st special session, it was 100% again to the State General Fund for FY 21 only, and then to retain, go back to the 25%, 75% split that exists in the current law. SB 452 that is before you this morning proposes to take that 25% that is currently dedicated to the State General Fund and instead deposit that in the Highway Fund permanently beginning in FY 2024, such that 100% of the proceeds would go to the State Highway Fund. So the far right of the table shows what the split is historically between the General Fund and the Highway Fund. You will see in the FY 2024 and FY 2025 columns the $27,572,000 in FY 24 for the State General Fund and $28,256,000 for FY 25. Those are the Economic Forum's forecasts for the GST to the State General Fund. That is the revenue that instead would be going to the State Highway Fund if SB 452 were approved by the legislature. And that is the bill in a nutshell. Madam Chair, members of the committee, I would be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation, and thank you so much for the draft. You're making a lot of people happy today, because this has been an ask for as long as I've been in the legislative body, but we've had to kind of shift funds between the Highway Fund to the State Fund to help us budget and maintain business here in the state, and we're at a position that we can actually make this right. So thank you so much for your presentation today. Members, any questions? Assemblywoman Kasama.
Thank you. When I look at the graph, it's quite erratic over the years and how it's been split. In layman's term, maybe could you tell me why there's been this push and pull between each legislative session and it keeps switching back and forth?
Madam Chair, to you and through you, to Assemblywoman Kasama, Michael Nakamoto for the record. The only thing that I can tell you is that your predecessors in this building made the decision that this is how they wanted to allocate this revenue.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation. We'll invite anyone up to the table that'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 452.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Russell Rowe here on behalf of the Nevada chapter of the American Council of Engineering Companies. Madam Chair, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's been a long time coming working on this issue, and we greatly appreciate this legislation to fully fund, or to have 100% of the funds go to the State Highway Fund. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors, representing the commercial construction industry in Northern Nevada. We are here today in strong support of SB 452. This is one of the recommendations from the 2021 AB 413 Advisory Working Group that met throughout the interim to study modernizing the system by which we fund our highways and in a sustainable and equitable way. While not many of the other recommendations have been acted on, we are thrilled to see this one and hope the committee can see the value in adding roughly $25 million a year to the highway fund. While it doesn't do very much to address the $500 million annual shortfall, it's better than nothing, and we're grateful and urge your support. Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair and committee members. For the record, Brian Reeder, speaking on behalf of the Nevada Contractors Association. Just want to say thank you and urge your support.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City who'd like to testify in support of SB 452? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone join us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 452?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 452, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that'd like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 452? Seeing none, is there not seeing anyone in Las Vegas at the table to testify in opposition? BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line that would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 452?
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 452, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to the position of neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral position of Senate Bill 452? Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone at the table. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in the neutral position of Senate Bill 452?
If you would like to testify neutral on the SB 452, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 452. Thank you so much for the presentation. Members, we're getting close on time. We know both caucuses have caucus and then we'll have floor, but we are going to do one last bill. Everything else on our agenda will roll to a call of the chair. And with that, we will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 346.
Thank you, Chair. In matter of time, I will curtail my 20-page PowerPoint and 4-hour presentation on this serious matter, but I do appreciate the time that you've given me. Good morning, Chair Moreno and members of the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means. My name is P.K. O'Neill, representing Assembly District 40. I'm happy to be here with you this morning to present Assembly Bill 346. The bill incentivizes state agencies to save money without being penalized for not spending their full budget funds allocated to them in their base budget year. It achieves this by providing a definition of what the base budget is to be used for by state agencies when they are preparing their biennium budget. When an agency does not spend their entire budget, they will not have their base budget reduced in the upcoming biennium. With this change, state agencies will not need to spend money on items they are not crucially in need of just to meet their allocated base budget for the fiscal year, thus allowing for savings to be returned without any penalties. Assembly Bill 346 will provide a definition of adjusted base budget. The state base budget sets forth the process for the preparation and submission of the proposed biennial budget for the Executive Department of the state government. Specifically, the Act requires the Chief of the Budget Division of the Office of Finance to prepare a final version of the proposed budget with much included the adjusted budget for each department, institution, and agency of the executive branch. Currently, there is no definition related to how the adjusted base budget is calculated. As such, there is an established practice whereby the adjusted base budget includes the actual expenditures and revenues for the last completed even-numbered year, plus or minus items routinely adjusted out, including overtime, terminal annual leave and terminal sick leave, one-time expenditures, including but not limited to equipment, computer hardware, software, one-time contracts, items approved on a one-time basis, contract employees' cost to fill vacant positions if the positions are retained in the base. Items routinely added to the base include knowing building lease adjustments, known adjustments to contracts such as copier leases and maintenance agreements, annualizations of revenues and expenditures for ongoing programs that were not operational for the entire base year. Because the adjusted base budget is currently calculated using the actual expenses and revenues that an agency occurs in the last completed even number year, if an agencies do not spend what they are authorized or appropriated in the base year, the starting point for their adjusted base budget will be reduced in the upcoming biennium to the actual amount they spent, thus removing any incentive to appropriately save funds and return to the state. For example, if an agency were appropriated $1 million in FY 2022 and $1.2 million in FY 2023, and they only spent $800,000 in FY 2022, the agency's adjusted base budget would begin at $800,000 in FY 2024 and 25, plus or minus adjustments routinely made to the base budget. AB 340 provides a definition in Section 1, subsection 5, for the adjusted base budget to mean the amount appropriated to the agency by the legislature for the second year of the current biennium, adjusted for the removal of one-time appropriations or authorizations, adjustments for statewide fringe benefits, contractual obligations, ongoing expenditures approved by IFC, annualization of costs incurred in part of the second year, actual caseload, rate changes, and any other adjustments that may be necessary as determined by the Chief of the Governor's Finance Office. With provisions provided in AB 346 under the same example that was previously provided, if an agency was appropriate the $1 million in FY 2022 and $1.2 in 23, and only spent $800,000 in FY 2022, the agency's base budget would not be reduced to $800,000 in FY 24-25 as a starting point, but would rather begin at what was appropriated for FY 2023 of $1.2 million, plus or minus the adjustments defined in Section 1, subsection 5. The language also carries forward in Section 2, subsection 7, which also references the definition of an adjusted base budget. I am fortunate, privileged, and oh so very, very happy to have with me today Sarah Kaufman from the Legislative Counsel Bureau, Physical Analysis Division, to answer any questions if you may have. Do you have any opening remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Sarah Kaufman, Legislative Counsel Bureau, Fiscal Analysis Division. As nonpartisan staff, I neither am supportive or opposed to any particular piece of legislation. However, I am here and happy to answer any questions you may have about the adjusted base budget process.
Thank you so much, members. Any questions? Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to ask a couple of questions. Thank you, Assemblyman, for presenting the bill. I think I understand the philosophy behind the bill, but I just kind of wanted to get confirmation of, is this practice of having, I want to say this the right way, finding ways to spend all the money so your base budget isn't diminished? I mean, is that something that is widespread in our executive agencies? Or if you could maybe speak to that. I think I certainly understand the point that's being made. I just am trying to get a sense of whether the comment was more anecdotal or whether this is something more of a systemic problem.
PK O'Neill for the record. Chair, Assemblyman Yeager. I've been retired for 12 years, so hopefully the statute of limitations has expired, and I'm free to say I can't speak for every agency, but the few that I do know, yes, I would say so. I know from my own experience, both as a low investigator, all the way up as a division chief, it was always concerning when it was coming to the end of the first year of the biennium, which was our base budget, to expend as much as our funds as possible, so we would not have to fight for it back, justify, and could move forward. That included buying, which I felt at times, or doing some things that weren't truly necessary. I would come before IFC, and usually in April, and ask for the expenditures, justifying them. But in all honesty, as I said, I don't think they were truly necessary, but it was a practice to protect me when I was sitting on this side of the aisle, bringing in my biennium budget and presenting it to you all. And it's always something that has bothered me for all my years, that I don't think we were truly honest with you when I say we, the agencies. So I will say, I can't speak for every agency in the governor's executive branch, but I know in some that I participated in that it was a wink and done, yes. And that this bill, if it was passed, would incentivize, it would prevent the need of that and return the money fairly without being penalized. And that's what I'm concerned about, and that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
Thank you for the follow-up, Chair. Appreciate the response. And then I just wanted to confirm, if we were to pass this bill, I mean, we're talking about an adjusted base budget, but there would be, the governor and or the legislature would still be able to make whatever adjustments they believed possible. So we wouldn't be setting a floor on agency's budget. We would still retain our power to determine that we, in previous bienniums, had perhaps overfunded agencies. So just if you could confirm that on the record, I'd appreciate it.
Madam Chair, through you to Speaker Yeager. Yes, the Fiscal Analysis Division as well as the Governor's Finance Office will still participate prior to the commencement of session in a base budget review, which will evaluate all of the one-time expenditures that have been included in the prior year, and take those expenditures out of the budget before it is presented to the future legislative session.
And if I may add, actually, I've spoken with some retired state employees that were involved in their budgeting, who have reviewed this and actually said it would simplify the process. There would be a definition right off of what the base budget is for them to create their biennium. It's a closer time frame to when we're coming in. They're not creating a budget 2 to 3 years in advance as we're currently doing. They saw real value to it, and as it was said, yes, we would still, legislature, the governor still has that ability to add and subtract as necessary based on the needs.
Thank you. Do you have any amendments for this bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Sarah Kaufman, Fiscal Analysis Division. I would just note that in reviewing the bill, I do believe additional language should be provided in, I believe it's subsection 5, where it indicates, as used in this section, adjusted base means the amount appropriated. I believe it should also say amounts appropriated and authorized to support ongoing expenditures. That would just make sure that both general fund appropriations as well as revenues that are not general funded are also included in this. I would also like to speak to the fiscal note that was provided for by the Fiscal Analysis Division. We do have a system, a budgeting system, that would require some adjustments. We received a vendor estimate for approximately 120 hours of programming costs at $225 per hour, which would equate to about $27,000.
Thank you so much for that. That was my next question to ask about the fiscal note. Members, any other questions for either one of the presenters? Being none, I thank you so much for the presentation. I'll ask you to step back and we'll invite to the table those here in the audience that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 346. Seeing none, is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 346? Seeing none, BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 346?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 346, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 346? Seeing none, not seeing anyone in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone joining us on the phone line that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 346?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 346, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you so much. We're moving to the neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in the neutral on Assembly Bill 346? Seeing none, not seeing anyone in Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anyone on the phone line who wishes to testify in the neutral position on Assembly Bill 346?
If you would like to testify neutral on Assembly Bill 346, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. As the presenters, are any closing remarks on the bill? And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 346. And members, to get us all out to our caucus meetings on the floor. Before we head out, members, we just received a bill, so we have a bill introduction for BDR 34-1219. It revises provisions relating to education. Remember that a vote for this BDR only helps it along the process to become a real bill. It's not saying that you agree with the legislation. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the BDR introduction.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion from Assemblyman Watts, a second from Assemblywoman Hodicki. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I will sign the bill. And members, we will stand at recess with the call of the chair.